DC Comics fans have probably noticed that there's an enormous morality issue or lack of morals within DC Comics these days. And we do have the usual suspects. Yes, I am going to talk about a Tom King book who seems to have enormous morality issues. But there are a couple of newer players in here that you wouldn't have expected this from. Chris Condon, the new writer on Green Arrow. There's some weird stuff going on there. I kind of, to a degree, like what he's doing, but there are just moments that absolutely throw you out of the book because it's written in such a poor manner, and the way that things are set up, it doesn't make really any sense. The stand that Green Arrow was trying to make against the police, specifically in the last issue, Dan Waters is doing some really weird stuff in Nightwing that I definitely don't like. And I want to get more of a spotlight on that, on what's wrong with it and why it doesn't really make sense for a character like Nightwing. And to be completely honest, this isn't Marvel Comics, and Marvel have always dabbled into the, grayer areas, more anti-hero type of things. Certainly DC does with Batman a lot, but with a lot of their other heroes, they are held to a much more moralistic standard than a lot of their Marvel Comics counterparts, and we're not seeing that really in DC Comics these days. It's getting really frustrating and really, really weird. And of course, we will start out with Tom King on Wonder Woman. I think it's a very, very poorly written book. I think it's very, very poorly paced. But the thing that I really don't get is what he's doing with the Wonder Girls. They just keep going around and attacking people, and you're not even really sure why. Like in a previous issue, we had, I think it was Donna Troy gutting fucking Solomon Grundy, who is retard coded. We had Yara Flor just robbing 30 banks all in the same day. We had Cheetah just like mauling like a financial guy. In this last issue, the Wonder Girls are at it again. And we have Cassie Sandsmark just out of nowhere attacking Angleman. I've been reading this entire Wonder Woman comic book series. Now, it is very poorly written, and there is a lot of BS in it with the sovereign dialogue or everything, but I don't remember Angleman doing anything for Cassie Sandsmark to go up, punch through a wall, basically blindside attack him, and try to beat him to death with her own bare hands. But it's like empowering, right? It's this girl power. It's this women going out there and beating up helpless victims. Like they just start attacking everybody. Silver Sable, which I think I saw her maybe a year ago, but I don't even remember what she did. In fact, I don't think a lot of the villains, outside of the Sovereign, have really done much within the series, but Wonder Woman commanded the Wonder Girls to go and tear them apart limb from limb. And that's not really how heroes should act, certainly not in a standard of like a superhero. The villain actually has to do something before you exact righteous justice upon them. I do often make a joke with my children. It is a joke. I tell my 9-year-old, don't be the victim, be the victimizer. Which, I think don't be a victim is a good frame of mind. Being a victimizer, that's the joke part. You're not actually supposed to go out there and start throttling people just because you can. And in the case of Wonder Woman, not her herself, it's just all the Wonder Girls keep doing it. And it's like, what are you even doing here? There's no call to action. There's no moment to where people's lives were in jeopardy, that they had to defend themselves or go out there and stop some crime or anything. They're just blindside attacking them in their homes and stuff like that. And it's really, really strange. And you would expect really, really strange, non-moralistic type of things going on in the Tom King comic book. But this next one, I don't really get it. Chris Condon, newer entity at DC Comics. I really like that Texas Blood. I really like the Enfield Gang Massacre. And I've liked to a degree what he's done with Green Arrow. But this latest issue, they've identified who the freshwater killer is, and it's this lady, and she's got cancer, and she was clearly given cancer or acquired cancer because she was drinking tainted water. But they have the physical evidence that she is a serial killer. She's killed 3 or 4 people. Obviously, it's all premeditated, and at one point, she was about to murder Detective Ramirez, who was brought Green Lantern into like the police station, whatever, And then as she's waiting to be questioned because she's been detained while she was about to murder this police officer, she has some type of convulsion and green stuff comes out of her mouth and she dies while being in the jail cell. And Green Arrow is beside himself. He's like, she didn't deserve to die like a dog in a cage. She deserved better. And the cops going, she was a serial killer. We have physical evidence tying her to the crime scene. While what happened to her was awful, and she didn't deserve to get cancer and all this stuff, she is legitimately a serial killer, and serial killers die in prison. You know, that's kind of what they do. And he's like, well, if that's the wrong thing to do, just put me in prison, and like puts his arms out. It's like, throw me in jail too. And I was like, well, fuck it. If he wants you to, just do it. I don't understand what Chris Condon, the writer, is trying to do there. Is what happened to this lady awful? That she basically acquired cancer through no fault of her own. You know, she drank tainted water. Yes, it's awful what this company did. But that doesn't excuse the fact that she's a fucking serial killer, that she started murdering people. And that is not how you enact justice in any civilized world. And then Green Arrow just like losing it and being all high and mighty. I do like the high and mighty, I'm better than you kind of douchebag attitude that Green Arrow has had lately. I think it kind of fits the character, and it feels like Chris Condon is trying to make Green Arrow like the personification of like the far left or whatever within superhero comic books, which I think is an interesting path to choose. But that's a really weird hill to die on. These police officers are allowing him to have access to this evidence to witness the interrogation that was going to go on. He shouldn't be there. He has no jurisdiction. He's not fucking Batman. He doesn't have that type of relationship or whatever. And then he's completely fucking indignant to the fact that like, yeah, she was a serial killer. You know, it sucks and it's awful, but she was a serial killer. She probably deserved to die in prison. But the worst part about it is, as Green Arrow is leaving and it tells them, you know, you have a great life, as if they've done nothing for him. They've gone out of their way to help him out and give him access to things he shouldn't have access to. The police officer next to Detective Ramirez kind of looks over at her and he says, you know, he's not wrong. And then she goes, yeah, but he's not right either. That is a weird thing to put in the comic book. Green Arrow freaking out, acting like this serial killer did nothing wrong, doesn't feel heroic, but I'm almost willing to accept it. But once you have that moment with the police officer, whose literal job all day, every day, is to look at the facts of crimes, go and find those who are culpable for them and bring them into justice, and be like, yeah, you know, he's got a point. She didn't deserve to die in prison. She was only a serial killer. That is not the point of view that a long-standing police officer would have. It was just weird. Why is Green Arrow acting like she's a fucking saint? She literally went out there and killed people. Not only did she kill people, he stopped her from killing Detective Ramirez. She was literally about to murder her. And as far as I know, Detective Ramirez has nothing to do with this company that supposedly poisoned her. Very weird stuff going on in Green Arrow. The Nightwing series from Dan Waters is also strange. There's a lot of weird stuff. Like it starts out where Nightwing, because there's a big gang war, and it has very war of jokes and riddles type aspects to it that don't work. War of jokes and riddles, I think, is the first real sign that Tom King did not get Batman whatsoever. So I've got some of those aspects to it because Nightwing reaches out to all the gangs, the teddy bears, the blockbusters, the fly boys. I think there's another one in there. And he gives them like all these communicators and is like, hey, if you need anything, I'm going to help you out despite you being a criminal. And we get all these moments from Nightwing that make no sense. You know, at one point, he's in a gang hideout with the teddy bears. The police are at the scene. There is no part of the story that indicates that the teddy bears have been set up and are not criminals. Everything that has been presented says that, yes, in fact, they are criminals. And then he throws the teddy bear on the back of his bike and leads the gang out of there. And as they're driving away, he actually snares one of the police officers that's flying in a jetpack and then drags him on the ground, almost murdering him. What a weird thing for a superhero to do. And Nightwing has this big thing because one of the teddy bears, as he was going to like talk to them, one of the teddy bears put a gun to Nightwing's head, and then he kind of talks him out of it. They end up, 2 police officers are coming, and the police officers do state he's resisting arrest or he's trying to run away. And the teddy bear has not done that. And in response to that, the teddy bear pulls out a gun, points it at the police, and they shoot him. Now, there's no indication that the police were going to shoot the teddy bear gang member before he pulled the gun out. It seemed like they were trying to trump up evidence to basically arrest him, which isn't right. But pointing a gun at a police officer certainly isn't right. The police obviously shoot him down and kill him. And then when they remove the teddy bear head, they realize that he's 14 years old. And Nightwing is furious at the police. Now, they did say, hey, he's resisting arrest, and he wasn't doing that. But they didn't do anything, really, until the 14-year-old with a covering on his head that had already pointed a gun at Nightwing, I believe. I might be misremembering that a little bit, but he certainly had a gun pointed at his head, points the gun at the police, and they shoot him down. And Nightwing's like, oh, no, the gangs haven't done anything. There's never been a piece of evidence or story that has been portrayed that says the teddy bears aren't criminals or the Flyboys or the Blockbusters. But there is certainly indications that the cops are going too far and they've been equipped to probably exact too much justice or whatever. But the moment that Nightwing is aiding and abetting the teddy bears, and he doesn't know that anything's bad is going to happen. We don't know that there's been raids of teddy bear locations and the police use like excessive force. That's never actually been shown. He breaks them out and then snares a police officer and almost drags him to his death. I'm assuming that he lived. And that's pretty fucking weird. And I don't think it needs to, like, I understand the story that he's trying to portray, but he's doing it in a very poor manner. Like, I don't think he knows what he's doing, how to portray these things, these kind of gray areas where the cops are out of bounds and doing wrong things, because every time that we do see the cops actually doing something, they appear to be justified. And he's claiming that, you know, this lady that's equipping the cops with all this tech, I think it's Spheric Solutions, is really the one that's blowing up the city and framing the gang members. But there's a bomb that Nightwing goes to intercede, and there's nobody from this lady's group. It's one of the Flyboys or whatever, I think. So the only evidence Nightwing has of people planting bombs are the gangs that he's helping out, and he's given them all like communicators and stuff because he's trying to save the gangs from the police, but it doesn't appear that the gangs are innocent. And there isn't a whole lot of evidence that the police are going too far. Like he hasn't presented that. He forgot to show that part of the story. It's insinuated, but you should probably fucking show it. They probably should have had the teddy bear remove the head, say I'm just a kid, and then have the police shoot him. And then obviously the police are no doubt the bad guys, but he's playing it in such a gray area. It makes Nightwing look stupid, like he doesn't realize that he's aiding and abetting fucking criminals all over the place. And this is happening all over in DC Comics, and it's really strange. You know, and I want to like this Nightwing series. Tom Taylor's Nightwing was really, really boring. This Nightwing isn't boring. It just kind of is stupid. You know, I want to like this Green Arrow series. You know, I kind of dig the direction that he's taking Green Arrow, which is a little bit too far, but you can't make the cops sound stupid. You don't want Green Arrow, you know, falling on a sword over a fucking serial killer. And then obviously Wonder Woman, I just want to get canceled. And I just want Tom King to never write comic books again because he has no moral compass whatsoever, which I guess kind of makes sense if you paid attention to his career. But I don't know. Are you guys noticing this as well? Is this just a me thing, or is DC Comics just operating like it always has? And the morals are really there. I'm just not getting it because I'm feeling a lot of weird stuff going on at DC right now, and it doesn't feel heroic whatsoever. And I think that's an enormous problem, especially in a DC universe, whereas maybe some of this stuff would fly a little bit easier in the Marvel universe, which has always been a little bit dirtier, you know, outside of Batman and DC, of course. If you appreciate this kind of stuff, we have this, but much, much more on the Patreon. And that is the best place to support Thinking Critical YouTube and the mission that we have to spotlight comics, cover the news, have opinions, do reviews, all that kind of stuff, show you what's going on, what you want to avoid, and some of the problems and pitfalls falling over the comic book industry. There's a link in the video description to the Patreon. Hope to see you there very, very soon.